Blacksmithing is one of the strongest mechanics in the game, allowing you the ability to amp up your damage, but it's really so much more than that. You can keep one weapon or armor piece through the entire game if you want by leveling it up. You can even cater weapons to your preferences by remodeling them to fit into the stats of your build. Nioh 3 really affords you a ton of luxury to customize gear to your heart's content. In this video, I want to break down the entire system because while it's one of the strongest, it's also one of the least explained mechanics in the game. If this is your first time on my channel, the way I do things is by uploading the knowledge of my videos. So with that being said, let me just tell you that you should be disassembling all common, white, and yellow uncommon items that you come across after you've reached level 10 or so, as these items will fall out of favor in lieu of the higher rarities. Save rare, blue, and epic purple items for soul extraction, as these will provide you with the most yellow soul cores. Yellow soul ores, sorry, not cores, ores, will let you level up your items, and any item with a plus value on it should be disassembled once you're done using it to provide you azure soul ores. This soul ore will help you remodel your items or add plus values to other items. Now, plus values add flat damage bonuses to your weapons as well as defense to your armor. It's another tier of scaling the potential power of your items. If you use the soul match feature to level an item beyond your level and add plus value to it, plus maxing familiarity, you can have a weapon that has insane damage. It'll just come to you and how much you want to leverage this system. Obviously, you'll want to hold on to anything that is within your level range, and there's also a recommendation to completely ignore this system until New Game Plus, when min-maxing your loadouts becomes more and more of a focus as you get into harder content. But please, play this game however the hell you want. If you don't see yourself really going to town on a New Game Plus, then pump and dump, I said what I said, into whatever items you want to get the most power out of them. Now, there are some things I don't touch on this guide to prevent spoilers, such as Umbracite's usage. There are further crafting materials that you can get from disassembling and from breaking down soul cores. They will also help you with advanced smithing, which I'll make a second video for. But that's it, too long didn't watch this entire video. If that's all you want to know, please feel free to go ahead and shut the video down. I want to be respectful of your time. If you are heading out and you found the video helpful, please don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe, as each one of those things helps me out in a huge way. You can navigate ahead to any part of this video that interests you the most using the chapters with the timeline in the description. And if you are looking for help on more subjects, you can find a link to my Nioh 3 guides in the description and pinned comment as well. But let's get started here on how blacksmithing unlocks your weapon's true power in Nioh 3. Loading into the game, let's take a look at the blacksmith. Now, if you have not unlocked the blacksmith, maybe you're playing the demo or you're in the actual live game, the blacksmith is just part of the story. Keep playing and you will unlock the blacksmith. Now, I've rolled back to a save that is not very far into the game because I don't want to reveal certain things, because the blacksmith does have additional features that it will learn. In fact, when you first unlock the blacksmith, it will then, it'll then have a quest to take you somewhere in this region. So as you play through the game, the blacksmith will have more and more quests that will unlock more and more features. So make sure you do that. But this guide will basically answer the basics of all those features and how to access them. So once we've got that down, let me go ahead and go over here to the blacksmith. I'm just going to press a button here real quick, and we'll talk about this button. I'm going to go into how forging works and how disassembling works, but I want you to first understand rarity. Everything in this video, we're really going to be basing stuff off of rarity. At the start of the game, you'll only be able to craft up to rare items, but eventually you'll be able to do epic and who knows, maybe divine. I don't know. Can't tell you. Yes, I can, but I don't want to spoil stuff. So you start with common as your basic. That is just it is white colored, and then yellow into uncommon, and then blue into rare, and then epic is purple, and divine is like orange. So those are your rarities, and everything is going to scale off of the rarities in this video. Either it's going to require more materials, it's going to give you more materials, it's going to give you more cores, it's going to require more cores, it's going to scale the actual stats differently. All these things are very big portions of understanding, and I wanted to establish this nomenclature going forward so that you understand it. Another thing too is that every single item, every single item in the game has what is called typically an implicit. This is a term that is carried over to us from action RPGs like Diablo, Path of Exile, and the such. What that means is that anything that shares the same name by Zentachis will all have this specific special effect. If I click this, it says effect that is set for all items with the same name. It's that little symbol right there. So you can see there's one right here, there's one right here, there's one right here, there's one right here, there is one right here. So if you're ever wondering yourself, why are there just different names for the same exact weapon, right? This is just a samurai sword. Well, oops, no, don't do that, don't do that. It's showing you that you can cater to different implicits. These implicits are things you're going to chase with forging, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I wanted to establish these basic terms because I'm going to use them in this video, and I want you to have a base understanding of how they work. This is the same of everything. So here's swords, right? Let's just go over to axes. Each one of these axes has a different implicit. So you would chase this implicit based off of your play style. You know what? I always play with mid attacks, so I want to use this. Or I always use low attack, so I want to use this. Maybe it's mid guard key consumption, whatever it is. This gives you a sense of how these implicits work for the different item types that you're after. Now that we know the basics, let's talk about things in reverse. Rather than just jumping into forging and remodeling and soul extraction, soul match, all that, you can jump ahead to those points in the video, like I said, but let's just talk quickly about soul extraction and disassemble. So disassemble is our first basic one. And what this is going to do is it is going to give you materials based off of the level and rarity of the item. So I'm going to scale all the way down here to level 1. So I'm going to get 4 lacquer for this uncommon level 1 rogue helmet. Let's jump over here over to a level 2 version of this. Well, not a version of that, but a level 2 item is going to give us 4. I'm sorry, that's a level 4. We're going to get 4 leather cord for an uncommon irregular troops gauntlets. And I think that's the same for all these things, about 4 materials. Now, every single item will give you different materials, right? Like this cuirass is going to give us 4 iron platelets. This General Greaves is going to give us 4 ingots. I believe this is determined upon for example, when it comes to armor, the type of armor's weight. That's what I'm trying to think of, whether it's light, medium, or heavy. So light armor gives us leather platelets, medium armor gives us iron platelets, and then heavy armor gives us ingots. And we'll take a look at this too here. Here's medium for iron platelets. Here's a regular, that's leather. So if you're hunting for specific types of crafting materials for a specific weight of a armor piece, you want to make sure that you're disassembling the proper corresponding weight, right? Like I want light armor. Okay, well, you need to disassemble light armor pieces to get leather platelets. And from this menu, you can choose to select all. You can choose here, we'll go ahead and just press select all. It's selecting every single thing that I've got, right? We can remove all checks. We can press control to select every single one, or if I bring back up my my controller here, we can go ahead and press right trigger to select all, or Y to select individual ones. And from this screen too, we can go ahead and bring up additional settings to set conditions and check all. So what I want to do here is we'll press this button and I can say, hey, let's select all exotic or below, rare or below, uncommon or below, or only common. And this is only going to be for the time that I do it. So let's say I want to select all uncommon items at levels 5 or lower. And we'll ignore that to 0. You can basically include anything that has a plus value on it. So if it says +1 in there, include favorites in all. I'm going to press exclude, include items with max familiarity and select all. I'm going to exclude. Now, familiarity doesn't have any bearance on the amount of soul cores, which we're about to get to, or the amount of materials you get. Familiarity is only going to be used for offering. If you offer your items, it's going to give you more Amrita. Include crucible weapons in select all. We're going to exclude. So I'm going to press select all now. So with the parameters are anything that's level 5 or lower that is uncommon or below, and I'm going to exclude favorites, max familiarity, and crucible weapons. So I press this button and we can see that this is something that's been locked. This will never ever fall into any kind of filter. And that's true of anything right here. So we have these rosewood tonfas, which are actually not uncommon, right? They're rare. And this longbow, which is uncommon. And this is going to go all the way up here to level 5. I've banked tons of items to make this video, so hopefully I don't screw anything up. So you can see here, we are going to get all of these items on this list. Then I can go ahead, and once I've selected all this, I'm going to go ahead and press A or spacebar, whichever one. It is going to then say equipment of common or greater rarity is selected. Are you sure you want to proceed with disassembly, or yes, disassemble all non-applicable equipment. Yes, do not ask again. I'm just going to say yes. And it's going to give me 29 things are selected, are going to disassemble. And it kind of gives you a little printout right here. Let's say that I accidentally selected something and it said, hey, you're about to, it would tell me if it was like exotic or something like that. Oh shit, I didn't want to do that. So we're going to disassemble all those. Boom, we now have all those materials that we can use for crafting. And that's going to give us plenty of ways to forge, which we'll talk about in the next section. But the other portion of this is soul extraction. So we go ahead and press this button. And in soul extraction, we're going to draw soul cores from items, as you can see right here. The soul cores are dependent upon, it's going to scale with the level of the item and its rarity. So there is, like, I tried to find like an actual scale of how this works, but basically something like a level 1 yellow item here is going to have 2 yellow cores. And it's like, it multiplies that number against the level. So this is level 4. So 2 times 4 is 8. And then this scales up. So this is still going to give us 12. This is going to give us 16 once we get to level 8 up here. This is going to give us 16. It's like around level like 15 or 16 that this starts to scale differently, right? Like 2 times 17 is not 38. So this will start to give us a like 10% increased sliding scale. You don't need to worry about that. That's just too many numbers. I was getting lost in the weeds in it, but I'm letting you know that things will scale based off of the amount that the yellow soul cores you're going to get are based off of the level times some sort of scaled out number. So we come back up here to the top and we're taking a look at this purple item. We're going to get yellow soul cores at 312. This item right here, 312, that's another purple. This blue item is 216 at a level 39. So you can see it's a pretty drastic difference. And if we kind of keep taking a look at these, even a white item is going to have a different scaling at this point, but it's going to give us 69, unintentional. But you can see that's how these yellow soul cores work. Now, yellow soul cores are important because we're going to use them for soul matching and what have you. But the equally as important, if not even more important, is anything with a plus value that has this little purple +1 is going to give us Azure soul cores. This is what is important. This is what allows us to change these reference stats on items or change it on relative armor. I don't have any +1s on this save to show you armor wise, but don't worry, we'll take care of that later. So this shows you exactly, no, I want this by level, please. So this shows us, hey, I'm going to get Azure cores and soul cores from this versus this just gives me yellow cores. This just gives me yellow cores. And I should have another in here somewhere. Of course, it's like I've saved every single damn item in the game. So it's like, oh, I think I just passed it. There it is. There we go. So here's another one. This is going to give me Azure cores. The number of Azure cores that you get is not dependent upon the items level. It's dependent upon this +1. So you get a certain amount based off of that. So that's just kind of worth noting as well. So that's how disassembling works. That is how, what is this called? Soul extraction works. Let me just give you 2 real quick tips on this. You can also streamline this whole entire process by coming here, going into settings, and then going here into menu settings and go over into offer, reset, resting rights. All that stuff can kind of be, you can get rid of a lot of the menus that pop up here that say, hey, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? All that can be done through here. But basic game settings, let's go into the back end. We're going to go right here into auto pickup. I've got that turned on. But I want this right here, auto disposal, automatically dispose of excess equipment. So every time I access a forge, the game will automatically disassemble all common items. It'll ask me first, it'll say, hey, do you want to do this? And I press a button. This streamlines this process. As you play through the game, you'll turn this to uncommon. And as you play through the game even more, you'll probably even turn it to rare. But once you start to get into New Game Plus and so on and so forth, anything that is rare or below stops having value to you. So you don't want this on and turned on at the very start. Only uncommon is good for you. And then just kind of scale it as you scale with the game and all the little things that it's going to give you. So that is the basics of that process. Let's now talk about forging, soul matching, and all the other fun stuff like reforging. Coming back over here to the blacksmith, we'll look at forge and forge tools. Very simple, but just worth explaining. Forge tools, you can make any tool that you find in the game. Now, I say find, you have to find the corresponding blacksmith text to do this. This can either be found as a droppable from item or from like those little corpses you can discover. Sometimes they drop off of creatures so you can spot farm them. I don't know what all those locations are or anything like that. And sometimes you'll be able to get them from these little dudes right here. The Sudamas. Sudamas will oftentimes sell you any of these texts. You'll get them as rewards. There's just a lot of ways you can get those texts. They will apply to forge tools and to forging. So let's say, for example, I've got this set, the Herald of Peace. I found a codex that gave me every single Herald of Peace item. So I can craft all of the Heralds of Peace. Now, your level in which you can craft items seems to be dependent upon a number of factors. It's based off of your level minus some numbers, but I think it's also dependent upon how far you are in the game to prevent you from over forging something super strong. So for example, here, I can make level 38 items on this save. My character though is level 43 on this save. Level 43. And we are currently in just again, this location here that we're at, this is a max of 36. So I think it's like the max location you can go to plus 2 levels. That's a theory. I don't know 100%. I haven't been able to test that because I haven't looked at a lot of factors. I've seen other videos where people are able to craft higher weapons than they actually have. So it might be that you've discovered weapons, but to kind of defeat that theory, I've discovered a level 42 weapon that I cannot then craft 42 weapons. So don't worry too much about this level because we can play with it in the next section of this video. But what we can do here is at the start of the game, like I said, you can craft common, uncommon, and rare items. This is important because like I said before, you're chasing those implicits. I really want to use this Enjuin Tachi, mispronounced that, I apologize, for the guard key consumption because that's what I want to do. Whatever it is, it's up to you. And you'll then see that there are corresponding materials required for this, right? Those materials will scale based off of the rarity. With common, it's very simple. With uncommon, it gets a little bit pricier by doubling it. And then with rare, it is way larger, right? And then with epic, it's even spicier. So you can see at the bottom end, this is not that much to craft. And it also, do keep in mind, there is going to be a forging cost. So gold starts to become important when you take a look at just basically forging. But once we get into the other systems, it's even more drastic. So you would take advantage of this when you want to specifically hunt a specific implicit, or you know what, hey, maybe you found a bunch of the Herald of the Egan Ninja gear, but you just can't find the pants. Well, here you go. We'll go ahead and make the pants through here. Or you know what, maybe you pre-ordered the game, so you got the Lone Wolf's waist guard. Maybe you got the deluxe edition, so you got the Hellfire Ninja waist guard or the Hellfrost Ninja waist guard. You can now make those through this process, which the game awards you level 1 versions of these, but rather than forcing yourself to level them up, you can go ahead and create them. Now we'll make one of these items real quick, and we'll kind of use it throughout the rest of the video here, right? So let's go ahead and we'll just forge a rare one. We'll make a Bison Tachi. We'll click this button and we'll press yes to forge it.
Wow, is that to your liking?
And this is what it makes. So the implicit is always there, but then we roll these random modifiers. I believe every single rarity has only one that is attached to it that is then add to it. That sentence didn't make sense. What I mean is common will have, uncommon will have 1, rare will have 2, epic will have 3. But there is a chance it can roll an additional effect within its rarity. So for example here, rare has total of 3, right? It can have a chance to boost us 1 more. Now, in previous Niohs, this was done through leveling up the blacksmith or finding additional things for the blacksmith. There is a narrative portion of that is true. The blacksmith can be expanded in certain ways that I don't want to spoil for you, but just know that on a basic level, this is how this system operates. And you can see we have all the things that we would need here from a rare item. This is our rare item that we're going to be using for the rest of this video. I'm going to equip it so it's easier for me to track, but we'll use this and talk about it further in the next points. So we've created our first sword, and now we can play around with that sword a little bit. Let's go into soul match. We can raise the level and we can give it a plus value. So what do those things mean? Well, on the base level, we can increase the level of an item. So for example here, let's take a look at this Hanzo's Demon Spear. Let's say that, you know what, I love this weapon, and specifically, I like the special effects that are affixed to this weapon. That's when this would really make the most sense. You're not gonna wanna level up all of the items that you find, especially if you're not a new game plus. You're going to be finding new items all the time that have better special effects on them, so you're just going to swap them out. It's just kind of a symptom of the early playthrough of the game, and the early playthrough of the game is not new game plus. So here's this weapon. I can level it up if I want, and we can give it, right now it's at 41, but we can put it all the way up to 46, which is just 3 levels over my level. This is another one of those things that I've heard is on variable levels as well. I've had friends that are higher level that can only go 2 above their level. I have people that are lower level and can go 4 above their level. So I think that this scales differently depending on certain values. Don't worry so much about that. It doesn't really matter, but it's worth noting so that if my level is 43, I'm sorry, I said 2 above my level. I'm 3 above my level. If I'm 43, this costs me 448 soul ores. I said core earlier, it's an ore, oops. Yellow soul ores to level it up to my level. And you can see if I want to jump above that, it's pretty drastic. So going over your level costs more than it does to stay under your level. See, it's only 144 to go bring this thing up 1 level. And if I compare this to like, let's just say a level 38 yellow wooden sword. Actually, no, we'll take a look at our Byzandachi. So our Byzandachi, we made his level 38, right? Well, it's only 51 soul cores to bring this to 39, to 40, to 41, to 42, to 43. That's our level. Only 195 soul ores, as you would call it. But let's bring it 1 more level above mine. Bam! It just almost doubled right there. So this amount of soul ore to raise the level of your item is going to be dependent upon the rarity and then the item's level comparative to your level. Mine being 43, every level over your level costs you more and more. Do keep in mind as well that it does cost you gold this time around. And what is the benefit of bringing the level up? It is that it increases the attack of the item. It will only increase the attack. It does not increase any special effects. That is worth noting. Yet, again, there are things with the blacksmith that will change what I said there. But in this screen, we're only talking about bringing this, I'll bring it all the way down, bringing this value up, right? It's 391 is the base. We're going to bring it all the way up to 436. And remember that that number is amplified by our familiarity. This number gets further increased, thus being even better. So that is why we would soul match an item for its level. Now, the other portion of this is its plus value. So plus values have a limit of 5 at the base. So what I can do here is take any of these epic items, anything that's purple, and we can add plus values to it. So take, for example, this bandit axe, or you know what, we'll take a look at our, we didn't make a purple one, my bad. We'll take a look at where's that bandit axe? Cool, this bandit axe. So if we want to bring it from +0, what it is currently at 435, to +1, it is going to increase its attack yet again. And you can see that this value here is going to go from 435 to 491, which is a 56 point increase. For every point, it will be the same value. If I were to say like, okay, let's take a look at this swordsmith's hammer. It's going to go from 547 to 603. Whatever that number difference is, it's always going to be the same for that specific item. So if I bring this to +2, to +3, to +4, let's say it just went up by 50, it would go up by 50 every single time. So you don't have to worry about any kind of scaling there. It's of course just going to be dependent upon the level and the rarity, all that kind of stuff. But once that number's set, it's set. So this though has a different use. This uses Azure Soul ores. So we get those ores, remember, from breaking down any of these with these plus values on them. So you can take a purple item and spice it up quite a bit. 56 damage is a lot, right? And then after that, you're taking this thing from 547 up to 603. That still is quite a bit of damage. So you get a lot more longevity out of items you particularly like without having to level them up. And then leveling them up has an even further of compounding effect on this. So you can combine both of these mechanics. This example is 56 yet again. You can combine both of these mechanics. You can see up here it says switch to level enhancement. It's Y on your controller or control on keyboard. We can just swap that back and forth like this. So if we were taking a look at this weapon, I can just swap these two values. So we can say, hey, you know what? The plus value brings it to 603 if I bring it to level 2. Well, if I bring this up to level 21, it brings it to 556. So we can play with this and bring this, let's just say, to 40. This gonna be a lot of soul ore. So you can see that this is not that much soul ore by comparison, just to bring it up to our level. This brings us to 751. Holy hot covered shit. That's a big improvement to damage. Of course, going over that doubles that amount. And then once we do that, we further enhance the damage with soul match by enhancing that plus value. We get even more potential out of it. And since this one is a max familiarity, it has even more damage. So you see that there's a big damage value attached to soul matching the plus value and soul matching that item level. Item level brings up the base attack, plus value, and further improves that attack. Familiarity adds on even further to that attack. And just to show you how this works with armor, we're doing the same mechanic. Just by simply adding levels, we're going to give +1 to this armor. Well, I think it went up by 2 here and there. So it goes up by 2 every so often, but it's like 1, 2, 1, 2. Like I said, a lot of things in this game will scale like opposite. Like there's a programming term for that, for going 1, 2, 1, 2, then 3, 4, 3, 4. But I can't remember because I failed out of the computer science. Wow, great YouTube channel guy. But you can see as we go all the way up to 43, we can bring this in line with our level and it doubles its base defense. Further enhancing it though, by also adding scaling values to this, right? So let's go this. So we can add scaling value. What the hell? What did I do? We can add scaling values to this like this, and that further enhances it. This is going to bring us up from 57 to 72 to 87 to 102 to 117 to 132. So there is so much power locked here. It is a gold sink. It is an Azure Soul sink. It is a yellow ore sink. So just know that you're going to be using all 3 of those materials to leverage this system. And this system adds a lot of power to everything. And again, familiarity is going to play into that when we talk about weapons. For our armor, not as big of a thing. Now, let's talk about reforging things once we've made them. I don't know why I called it reforge. It's remodel. So we go back to our parent screen. We take a look at remodel here. And from this screen, we can take anything that has a +1 affixed to it. So anything, again, that we've put through soul match into select plus value. We go into remodel and we can remodel stuff from it. So when it comes here to armor, which I think is the one that people haven't showcased a lot on videos, we can change things. We can make it so this says a standard, this is the standard plus value effect. Refine. The core stats requirement to activate the special effects will increase, but the defense will be raised significantly. So right now, this requires 5 constitution, 5 skill, right? Yeah. Press this button. And this went up by 1 defense. Not as bad, not as great. Reinforce here. This increases defense. Super refine. This increases stuff. So you can see how that benefit all works together. And this is, I think that's actually my only +1 armor piece. Oh, no, I've got this one. I forgot. Super reinforce, super refine. So there's always going to be some kind of trade-off here. The core stats requirement to activate will become increased, but defense goes up. The weight will greatly increase, but defense will be raised even more. The weight and the core stat requirement to activate special effects will increase, but defense will raise significantly. So this goes up by 2. So you can see how this system kind of plays into it. It's not as drastic in the lower portions of the game. Like this is all pretty like minimal. You're like, okay, guy, this isn't going to do much for me. So you're not going to notice too much yet. And also there's portions of this that are affected by this thing right here. requires the use of Umbrasite when changing special effects through crafting at the blacksmith. So that is something that is further unlocked with the blacksmith that has an effect on things. You use Umbrasite and you can change special effects and swap them in and out. So this really, though, comes to the fore with weapons. We can change the reference stats. So for example, here, this spear, it uses Constitution, Heart, and Skill. Well, those aren't all my top stats. So let's remove all these check marks. And we can see 494 is the current attack. Well, let's go ahead and do Strength and Stamina and Constitution, my highest stats. And now it's 504. Remember, reference stats will take the highest stat and scale off of it. Whatever is selected of those three, it will then use the next highest to slightly scale and the least highest to minimally scale. Just if you have a question about that, you click this or you go and hover over to it. The stat with the highest value will affect it greatly, the next highest will affect it slightly, and the lowest will have a minimal effect. So you can see that crafting is so integral to this game because it can vastly increase the damage of your weapons, but also it can unlock your accessibility to weapons. Maybe I'm playing a build that focuses on using, I'm just going to throw random things out here, the tonfa, and the tonfa doesn't scale with the spear. I can't think of what the tonfa scales with the top of my head, or the hammer here, right? Hammer and spear actually have a good overlap, so this is not really the best example, but let's assume that they didn't. Let's assume that these were three different stats. I could change these stats through this screen to make it so that they will all coincide with the things that I use the most. And that is a superpower here. You are no longer locked into specific stats and builds. Keep in mind too, you can just go ahead and respec all these stats. Just also, our final note here on remodeling, it's not a very steep cost, but if you have not been remodeling, you'll notice here that it will cost you, $250, $250, and $250. So you'll want to go through that system we talked about in the very beginning of mass disassembling and mass, what's it called? Soul disassembling, soul extracting to get all of the materials you need for both remodel and soul match, because of the ways you're going to get the most value out of your weapons if you haven't jumped into New Game Plus and you're kind of going through the mid to late game strides of this game. So at that, it brings our video here to a close. And we've covered a lot of things about the blacksmith. And I wanted this to just kind of be a general overview rather than like, you've got to do these things, do this like this. I want you to understand the system so that you can then use the system how you want. Hopefully, just in talking about how soul match can marry together between increasing the level of something and then increasing the plus value of something, you can see, well, again, the value of all those mechanics blending together. Now, again, the blacksmith has a ton under the hood, and it used to be you had to create a certain amount to access further things with the blacksmith, like 500K invested into the blacksmith through crafting things, or 1 million invested in the blacksmith through crafting things unlocks more blacksmith stuff. I have not been able to discover that yet. So if you said, hey, dude, I sunk every penny I have into the blacksmith to discover all the things, go ahead and let me know. Now, there are other mechanics that I have not shown you that are related to the blacksmith that I don't want to spoil because of the narrative. When we were given early access at the end, they said, hey, please don't spoil anything narrative related for the first week or so of the launch. And I'm trying to honor that, don't want to spoil the game for you. But this, again, gives you a base understanding of the mechanics of the blacksmith so that you can do everything that you need without worrying too much about, am I doing the right thing? If you don't know, make a new item, change your stats, remodel the stats, soul extract it away, whatever it is, to make sure you're getting the most use out of this very powerful system this time around. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.